Hello everybody, today we will be examining how World 1-1 of the original Super Mario Brothers is... Get that out of here! Did you think I was gonna let any of you off the hook without shilling something SMT related? Nah, get that out of here, you're in the Scrumbo jungle now, baby! Shin Megami Tensei Synchronicity Prologue is one of the best things to come out of the Shin Megami Tensei series in the past, 5 years. I am not joking. Released as a free download in 2017 to hype up the release of Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Redux, Synchronicity Prologue is a side-scrolling action/Metroidvania game that, in my brief stint with it, had some of the best design choices I've experienced in a long time. Let's get right into it. The player is given control of Jack Frost, and after a few minutes of exploring, the player can switch to Pyro Jack. Jack Frost feels pretty good all around. Tight feeling jump, pretty fast movement speed, and a satisfying feeling projectile. It can even be charged for one big shot that can freeze enemies. A neat thing about this projectile is that it has momentum, so if you move forward while shooting the projectile, it moves a little bit faster, which gives the player more options when dealing with certain situations. It's just really great to have a game that lets you live out the male fantasy of becoming just a funny little silly little guy. With the push of a button, you can swap to Pyro Jack. The swap itself is really snappy, taking not even half a second, which is incredibly important for some of the challenges later on. Instead of jumping, Pyro Jack can hover as long as there's ground beneath him. He moves a good deal slower than Frost, but his projectile is a three-way spread that can really pack a punch. His charge shot can be aimed around Yoshi's Island style, and holding the jump button stalls Pyro in place, allowing for easier aiming. Both of them have really great and really charming animations to boot. So, you have the agile Jack Frost, and the slow but powerful Pyro Jack. The only hope for our world, I guess. Look, I'm just saying, throw me in there with a double steak Chipotle bowl and a brisk zero and I'll have that Schwarzwald stuff taken care of in a few hours, don't even worry about it. Now, if I'm exploring level design, why am I talking about the characters? You see, Synchronicity Prologue's big gimmick is the element system. What does that mean? Just like in mainline SMT, every enemy has elemental affinities. For example, Jack Frost completely nullifies ice skills while he takes more damage from fire skills, and vice versa for Pyro Jack. On the first real screen of the game, you're greeted with a bunch of enemies who are weak to ice, allowing Jack Frost to mow them down pretty easily. But a little further in, you run into some Predademons who are strong against ice, but use ice themselves, meaning Jack Frost can just waltz on through without a care in the world. The game makes it a priority to show the player how the elemental affinity system works, because as the game goes on, it only becomes more important. The game's first set of puzzles is an interesting one. You come across a small body of water with the next screen on the other side. In order to get across, you have to use Jack Frost's ice projectile to create a bridge to move to the other side, demonstrating that ice and water have unique reactions. I honestly wish there was a better indicator that ice had any sort of special ability relating to water. Personally, I would have maybe added an enemy that stays right above the water, forcing you to shoot at it, which in turn would create the bridge below it. On my first playthrough, I remember stumbling around for a little while before accidentally figuring out this interaction. On the next screen, though, Jack Frost has to run into some torches to push them over, and the second puzzle reveals itself. At this point, the player knows exactly what to do. Push the fire over onto the ice block to melt it. I'm a little torn here. I feel the first puzzle doesn't give you enough to know that you can freeze the water, but the second puzzle wordlessly conveys its solution to you in such a subtle way that I have to commend it. It's interesting to see a design blunder and a design achievement right back to back like this. This is where you get Pyro Jack and the game really opens up. As previously stated, Jack Frost nullifies ice, and Pyro Jack nullifies fire, completely changing the way the player traverses through the first stage. Most of the enemies in this stage are working under the same rules as you, weak to one element you possess, but strong to the other. The player has to ask themselves, can I just blitz through, or do I have to slow down and fight? In addition, if you nullify an attack, you get a little bit of SP back, allowing you to use your special moves more often if you play a little bit riskier. Once again, giving the player more options as to how to tackle any given situation. Once the player has time to get used to playing as Jack Frost, how he controls, his weaknesses and his strengths, Pyro Jack is thrown in, allowing for added complexity without becoming overwhelming. I really love how fire and ice are always the same color too, which helps the player process exactly what is happening and allows me to work in that muscle memory just a little bit faster. It reminded me of the pink bullets in Cuphead. I will say though, the level itself in terms of aesthetics is just sorta whatever. I can't tell where we are aside from Antarctica. It's just some sort of gray, snowy ruins and not even a location from Strange Journey. Where the game truly captivated me, though, is in the boss design. This boss caps off the game's first stage. At this point, the player has a basic understanding of how the game works, and everything they know about the elemental affinity system is put to the test in the fight against this guy. Bifrins. I'm sorry, just imagine having one shot at life, and you look like this guy. I'm sorry. Bifrins has a couple of different attacks. A charge move with no elemental affinity, a move where he tosses a flame wheel at you, which leaves a damaging fire spout, and a move that causes icicles to rain down from the ceiling. In order to come out on top, the player has to skillfully switch between the two characters to nullify the damage they would have taken. Words cannot describe how rewarding it felt when switching to Jack Frost not to get hit by the icicles, then switching to Pyrojack to avoid the flame wheel, then skillfully switching back to Jack Frost to go to town on the boss. This boss is no pushover either. It took me 2 tries to beat him. The first time I didn't really have the handle on switching on the fly, but once I had it down I was able to shred right through him with ease. I feel this tough yet rewarding gameplay really captures the spirit of the mainline Shin Megami Tensei series in the form of a 2D side-scrolling action game in a really unique way. It absolutely blows my mind that this is a free game they charged no money for. Okay, let's recap. So you control 2 characters with fluid and unique movesets, have an interesting elemental affinity system that not only calls back to the mainline SMT series, but also adds a layer of complexity in how the player chooses to tackle the stage, and despite a few blunders here or there, a really fun level with a great feeling boss, and this is just stage 1? And this game was free! This game got me to look into Team Ladybug's other work, because this game is just so spectacular despite its short length. And I am happy to report that the game keeps the momentum up until the very end, nailing that difficulty curve just right. Let me be clear, this isn't a review, but all of you should play this game. It's free. What do you have to lose? Oh, oh, I thought I had more. Oh, there was gonna be like a joke here, I think, and I thought I wrote the joke, and then I went upstairs to get water, and then, I just went right into it. I just did like a dry run of like the first like couple paragraphs. I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready to go, and then I like went right into it, and then I went to scroll down to see what the next like paragraph was, and it's just blank. There's no joke here. I'm sorry.